Until you've been cussed out by one of your best customers, I don't think you've ever lived. And if you can get cussed out by that customer and still retain them as a customer, you've done a great job. Welcome to Practically Insane. Practically Insane is our podcast for the entrepreneur and all of the things that nobody wants to talk to you about. So, episode number 2 is the parts no one pays you for. We want to discuss all of the things that go into being an entrepreneur and that you cannot account for when it comes to costing, when it comes to putting together a business plan. So I think every entrepreneur, no matter what stage, will be able to relate to this either in a previous version of their situation or where they are today. So without further ado, we're going to jump into it. It's just me on the podcast today. This is 2 of 3. Just me getting to know me and where I see the business. So there's a version of work that no one warns you about when you start business. And in every business, in every line of work, it can be different. But there are a few truths that I think go along with no matter what industry you're in, no matter what you're doing. These are things people don't tell you about. So, taxes. The government is going to get their portion of everything that you do, from sales tax to income tax to property tax to personal property tax. Just one of the things that you will struggle to cost into what you're doing. And my recommendation on that, outsource that from the get-go. Have a good CPA. You can find a good CPA, interview them, make sure that you understand what they're doing for you, what they're not doing for you. That is something that I think everyone can understand, that it's something good to outsource. But what we want to talk about are more the pitfalls. It's the side of the business that no one tells you you're going to be working 80 hours a week for the first 3 years. No one tells you you're not going to go on vacation and your spouse and your children are going to suffer through this, especially if you're bootstrapping a business and putting it together from the ground up. I see entrepreneurs all over the internet that are starting a new business every 2 weeks and on vacation the weeks in between. And that's not someone starting a business, that's someone trying to get you to pay for their lifestyle. We're not in this episode here to talk about money. It's about everything that doesn't show up on an invoice or on an accounts receivable or an accounts payable statement. It's the time, energy, and effort that you're going to put into your business that you can't quantify. You can't put a dollar amount on it. You'll hear me talk about when you're starting your business, you'll do $10 an hour work, you'll do $20 an hour work, you'll do $500 an hour work. And the goal as you grow your business is to set yourself up with employees or subcontractors or partners that take the lower but required dollar an hour work off of your plate so that you can focus on the big picture. One of the things that, as we were prepping for this, as an entrepreneur, there are days that you just are so exhausted you don't want to get out of bed. And it's those days that you're tired and you can't explain why. And let me tell you why is. Your sympathetic and parasympathetic emotional system is on a constant roller coaster as an entrepreneur. I have money. I'm broke. I sold this job. I have to get this job done. It's a constant roller coaster, and if you're not taking the time and energy to manage the emotions of that, you can exhaust yourself. I hear entrepreneurs on a regular basis, oh, I'm just run down. Yeah, you're run down because you're doing absolutely nothing for your own health other than working in the business. And working in the business solely is always going to destroy your mind, body, and soul. People talk about balance. Well, For me, balance is taking care of business. I'm built differently, hence practically insane. I'm built a little different, so those things don't register for me, but let me tell you the toll that it has taken on my wife, my children, my business partners, and so many other people in my life. We'll get there in another episode, but we will get to those things. So I want to talk about the mental, physical, and emotional workload that we go through. Think about what you do as an entrepreneur and what part of your job only exists in your head. It's not real, it's not tangible, it's not touchable or measurable. These are the things that are in your head that only you have, that only you think about, and when you try to express them to other people, sometimes you'll do a decent job, but they will never understand. Those are the things that live rent-free in your head and in what you're doing. How many decisions do I make? How many decisions does the entrepreneur make that no one ever knows about? No one is cognizant of, no one even understands that they have to. And when an employee comes to you with a problem or a decision that may sound silly, it may sound like it's very obvious, because you make all of the decisions every day, it may sound trivial, but those decisions, typically, if an employee is bringing that to you, those decisions are typically decisions you've always made for them, and you have not given them permission to make those decisions on their own. So we use a term around here, delegate and elevate. When I give someone a task, their job is to do that task. What you guys don't see right here. The young Miss Adriana is right behind the camera, and I tasked her that if we're going to do this podcast, we're going to commit to 50 episodes. Now, I need an outline. I need all of the things to make this happen. I didn't micromanage. I didn't tell her anything other than 10%, and I trusted her to put this together in a fashion that will work. Will we tweak it? Absolutely. As we have guests on and we discuss it and we learn, you'll see next week we'll probably have a different microphone setup. We are going to grow this as it goes. And as we talk about entrepreneurs, it's my responsibility to have the final say. But if I give permission to those people, let's talk about Elon Musk. Launch the rocket, find out what's broke. In between podcasts, full disclosure, we're filming 3 today. In between that, I'm with our operations team where they are quite literally revamping our entire warehouse staging and our computer system to allow them to move more efficiently. They asked me my opinion on a couple of things. Quite honestly, I have to trust that they are going to do what's best for the business. Once they're finished with it, if I think there's a couple of tweaks to be made, I still have the final say, but I don't want the final say so. I'm not the one doing it. I want them to be empowered to do those things. So what does it mean to be the final answer or to have the final say so? It means if you're constantly and in the loop on everything that the business does, your business will stagnate and never grow. You have to delegate and let and trust those people to do their job. Entrepreneurs, as you're hiring people, let me teach you one speech that I give every person who has ever started here. You are going to make a mistake that costs this company, that costs myself and my business partner money. Let's do 2 things. Let's try to limit how much that is, and let's not cost the business money for the same reason twice. Learn from your mistakes. Limit those mistakes. If you have a question, ask the question. So, to be the final answer is great, but to make yourself the final decision maker on everything will stagnate what a company can do every day. Along with that same question is, How do you manage your emotions? Well, as you will learn on this podcast, I am on the autism scale. So emotions for me are different. However, I do have to manage other people's emotions in the business or in being an entrepreneur with my family, with my friends, when I tell them I'm working 80 hours a week. And managing those emotions is a second full-time job that no one pays you for. It can be rewarding if you do it right. It can also be very detrimental if you do it wrong. So managing those emotions is a constant balance. The more balanced the work, for me, the more balanced those emotions are. When everyone's in the boat rowing the same direction, most of the time, emotions are limited. It's when there's conflict or the decision has to be made and someone has an ego about making a decision or makes a business decision emotional that it becomes hard. So people ask and we discuss what makes a boss. I don't ever want to be viewed by anyone who works for me as their boss. Am I their leader? 100%. And leadership on display is very quiet. Leadership on display is being willing to be the first person there, to stay the latest, to do anything that needs to be done, but also empowering your employees to do what they need to do their job, and making sure they know what their job is. For me now and my business partner, as we were growing this business, my job is to anticipate. My job is to see trends. My job is to see the future, or at least our version of it. And recently we've implemented a new business operating system where we sat down and we have lined out our 1-year plan for 2026. As we're doing this, it's January 14th, 2026. We have our 1-year plan, our 3-year plan, and a 10-year plan for the business. We'll talk more about our operating system as we go along in different podcasts. So this is a tough topic for me when we're talking about emotional regulation. And for me, this is much easier than most entrepreneurs. Again, emotions for me digest a little different. It is very easy for me to take emotion out of business decisions because the way my brain is wired, business decisions are not emotional. Some emotional decisions can come into business, but there's nothing emotional about money changing hands and making or losing money. Unless you're losing money, that becomes an emotional trauma to deal with. But the emotions that I have to regulate every day, if I have them, overexcitement. We're balancing growth with opportunity, which means picking and choosing what contractors we bring on, who we do business with, how we do business, and what we're willing to provide as a service. Emotional controls in my job is balancing different employees, vendors, customers. Until you've been cussed out by one of your best customers, I don't think you've ever lived. And if you can get cussed out by that customer and still retain them as a customer, you've done a great job. I've done it on multiple occasions. Sometimes you just got to take an ass chewing for something you messed up. For me, that's not emotional because it's accurate. It's just statements of fact, if they're accurate. Customers that want to yell and scream at an employee, absolutely not. You have a problem, you call me. And that circles back to leadership. I think about all the things that keep entrepreneurs up at night and awake at night, and what employees don't have to take home. Some of your more involved employees will, but they don't have to take home where payroll's coming from next week. They don't have to take home where the market is, or is the market up or down? Are our competitors gaining market share? Are we in a position to gain market share from our customers? And If I have one attribute that maybe I was born with it, maybe it's what made me a good Marine, maybe the Marine Corps taught me this, I don't know, potato, I'm pretty calm about even the strangest or worst of situations. If you can keep your head about you while everyone else loses theirs, you win by default. Business is a game, and if you can provide solutions, that's how you win the game. Thinking outside the box, agreeing to make things happen and making them happen, that's how you win the game. One of the things that you have to balance, and for me, this is an important thing, is capacity. How much capacity to do this portion of the job do I have today? How much capacity do we as a business have to bring on a new employee to help us grow? There are seasons where your capacity is higher for trauma and issues, and there are seasons that you have zero capacity for it. And it's managing that capacity with those seasons that makes a great entrepreneurial mindset. It's seeing those things as they're coming and trusting your team and people you do business with the information and taking what they have and incorporating it. There is a massive mental cost to carrying all of it by yourself. I'm blessed to have an incredible business partner who helps me carry the load, and while we joke, there are months that I put him on my back and there are months that he puts me on his back. We are both willing to carry the load. But people, customers, do not care what your problems are. They don't care. Let me rephrase. Most of our customers are also friends. We have great relationships. They care about problems, but they are their own priority. And getting their work done is the only thing that's important to them. So why does carrying all of this invisibility, all of these things that no one else sees, how does that take a toll on you? You can't share with your employees, oh, well, I'm $300,000 in debt because XYZ. Because then they panic. Now I'm back to managing other people's emotions. Sorry, apparently one of the dogs is barking. This shows up in fatigue, poor decision making, detaching yourself, or becoming complacent about certain things, which those three things will kill a young business. You have got to stay on the game every day. It's hard to explain that exhaustion and that mental fatigue to people who have never been there, to people who may never be there, to employees, friends. When you go to having dinner with friends and everyone's talking about a game or a football game or what the kids are doing, and the only thing you're thinking about is, where's the next project? Did get this job. Oh no, we got this job. Now we've got to do this job. So your mind will play a ton of tricks on you, and that's one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur is a lot of times you live on an island. So find your people that you can rely on and use them as a crutch and sometimes even a walker. They're going to support you. If you've ever felt guilty for being exhausted when things look fine, let me explain why. You feel exhausted because of all the work you've put into it to get to the point that things look fine. Mentally, all of that work that you went into it, you're recovering from it, and there's gonna be another season of that. So when you're exhausted, you don't have to explain it to anyone. My business partner and I deal with it on the regular. Hey, you look tired. I'm exhausted. I am mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausted day in and day out. But I'm here, I'm tracking, and we're working. And that, beyond anything, is how you succeed in this game. Remember, the game is longevity, not rapid rise, not flash in the pan, Longevity wins the entrepreneurial game. So as we're wrapping up, so 2 of Practically Insane, a couple of things that personally I want everyone to know. If we acknowledged this hidden work, this work that's not paid for, this entrepreneurial workload that no one sees, if we found a way to acknowledge it and share it with others that are going through the same thing we are, if you've got a mentor or can find a mentor in your industry that has gone through these things and is willing to help you, congratulations. Do it. I don't care if it costs you. Paid mentors are something that you cannot spend enough money on. Sustainable leadership is one of the other things that I work on every day. I have to have the right attitude, the right aptitude, and the right just ability to convey those things so that everyone who works for me knows they're appreciated, they're heard, are a huge part of the team, no matter whether they're working on a production line or they're driving a truck or they're taking care of AR and AP. As we alleviate and relieve myself of those things, these people need to know just what a load they're taking off of me. That's, in my opinion, the most important thing leaders can do with their employees. What do I want people watching this to know about their exhaustion? It's normal. It's to be expected. And a lot of it can be dealt with by taking care of yourself physically, eating properly, which we all fall into the pitfalls, regular exercise, limit your alcohol. You know what the hell to do. Everyone does. It's that moment where we talk about how do we deal with it? Well, you deal with it by facing it head on and recognizing it. And the thing that you want to remember is in podcast number 2, Practically Insane, Nate Roberts with Practical Metals, is I want you to know you're not weak. You're carrying a weight that no one else sees. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you for episode 3.